Guys, JC once again, back with an all new video for you guys today. Well, here I am. 2020 has been a crazy year. Hope all you guys are doing well, keeping safe, and more importantly, keeping healthy. It's just been one of those years that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. But here we are, doing a very special video for you guys today. As most of you guys know, all you movie lovers out there, Barnes & Noble have their 50% off Criterion sale coming up probably be here by the time I upload this. Really looking forward to that. And they do this twice a year, once in July and once in November. And over the last couple of years now, I've built up quite a big Criterion collection. So I thought, why not show all my collection? It'll probably be added to in the next coming weeks, but I've got enough here to show and talk about a little bit. Really love this company a lot. They put out a lot of great sort of film noirs, foreign films, indie type films, and for all you film lovers who really love to explore cinema and just love movies in general, this is the company for you. So really looking forward to showing you everything that I own here. As always, leave your comments below, some of your favorite Criterion movies or movies that maybe I should be getting in the sale in the coming weeks. And look forward to hearing from you. So let's get started with my complete Criterion collection. So I'm just going to run through these pretty quickly because I do have a fair few to show. First one here, quite an iconic Criterion, is 12 Angry Men. Great courtroom sort of drama directed by Sidney Lumet, who's one of my favorite directors. You got Henry Fonda, you got Lee J. Cobb. Really good acting in this film, great dialogue, and all pretty much filmed in one location too. So good stuff. 12 Angry Men. Next one's a Western, and all you guys know I'm a huge Western fan. This is the original 3:10 to Yuma, directed by Delmer Davis, starring Glenn Ford and Van Heflin. Not as good as the remake. I've always loved the remake with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. This is okay. It's a little bit on the slow side compared to that Western, but nonetheless, it's still got some good little dialogue scenes, and Glenn Ford's pretty good in these Westerns. Not bad. 3:10 to Yuma. Next one is one of those period pieces directed by Martin Scorsese. This one came out not too long ago, this Criterion. The Age of Innocence, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, Michelle Pfeiffer and Winona Ryder. And all three are really at the top of their game here. And as I said, if you like those sort of old English period piece type movies, this is one for you. Not one of the best Scorsese films, but still nonetheless enjoyable. The Age of Innocence. And as most of you guys know as well, I'm pretty big into film noir, and this is a really good film, directed by John Huston, The Asphalt Jungle. This is one of those sort of heist films as well, starring Sterling Hayden. You probably remember him from The Killing. Also, one of the first performances from Marilyn Monroe, and I'm sure most of you movie buffs know her. So, good film. It's been a while since I've seen this because this is one of the early Criterions I did get. So, if you love film noir, heist films, The Asphalt Jungle is for you. Next film, this is another early Criterion that I did get when I first started collecting, directed by Terrence Malick. His first film, Badlands, starring Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. I'm not a huge Terrence Malick fan. Most of these films, are more sort of shots more than any dialogue or any sort of real story. But this is okay. This is not so much like his other films. Martin Sheen's really good. He's sort of an escaped fugitive. You got Sissy Spacek in there. It's been a while since I've seen this one. I didn't love it or hate it, sort of in the middle for me. But if you like sort of early Terrence Malick, maybe you'll enjoy this. That's Badlands. And now another Western that came out not too long ago. This is the Ballad of Grigor Cortez. I believe this is actually based on a true story. It's sort of a Mexican bandit called Grigor Cortez. It was okay. It was a little slower in places. It wasn't sort of the Western that I was expecting. So I don't know, if you're into the history about this character or know anything about it, maybe you'll enjoy it. I think it's more of a one-time watch for me though. So that is the Ballad of Grigor Cortez. And then we come on to one of my favorite directors' films. We've got Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. And this is a very underrated Kubrick film. Most people love, The Shining or Clockwork Orange or Full Metal Jacket. This one kind of gets overlooked a little bit. It is one of those period dramas. It's over 3 hours, but you got Ryan O'Neal, who's a really underrated actor. And I really enjoyed it. I love the sort of duels that they have. And all the great dialogue with Ryan O'Neal and some of the other actors. I just can't Patrick Macnee's in it as well, Hardy Kruger, so some good actors, and overall a really underrated Kubrick film. That is Barry Lyndon. Okay, the next stack here. We've got James Mason in Bigger Than Life. This is a film directed by Nicholas Ray, who's done a lot of good sort of film noir dramas. I always love my James Mason films, so if you're a big fan of his, highly recommend Bigger Than Life. Next one is another one of my favorite directors, Brian De Palma. One of his earlier films, Blowout, with John Travolta and Nancy Allen. Really good early John Travolta film. If you love Hitchcock, this is a very Hitchcockian style. Kind of in the mood of like Rear Window, Vertigo. Yeah, really good stuff. That's Blowout. Next one is a Japanese film, a foreign film. It's Shinjin Suzuki's Branded to Kill, and this is all based on like a hitman. It's a really sort of look into the psychosis of a hitman and what they go through mentally. Yeah, it's quite good. I've really got into Japanese films over the last few years, and Branded to Kill was quite decent. It's a good one. Next one is another pretty good director team, the Coen brothers. This is one of their early films, Blood Simple. So if you like those neo-noir type films, this is definitely up there. It's really good. Just really sort of simple, but done well. The dialogue, the acting, just the cinematography. Yeah, really good little film, Blood Simple. Now, a very iconic film. I'm sure most people have seen this film by now. You got John Hughes in The Breakfast Club with all the Brat Pack. Most, as I said, I don't think too many people on this channel watching this, or movie lovers in general, have not seen this by now. It's, yeah, very iconic. Back in the 80s, a lot of these types of movies came out. This is sort of one of my favorite of the Brat Pack type films. Did enjoy it a lot. I like the characters and all the sort of different characters, stories and everything like that. So yeah, good film, The Breakfast Club. Now another movie, and I actually thought this was a Hitchcock film, but it wasn't, but it's very similar to it, and it's directed by Stanley Donen, with Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn and Charade. And this is very much like an early sort of Bond film at Hitchcock. That's what I could describe it as. Yeah, really good acting from Cary Grant. Certainly got into him over the last couple of years. And Audrey Hepburn, very famous actress back in the day. So yeah, if you like that sort of style, the crime drama in the mode of an early Bond film with Sean Connery or an early Hitchcock film, Charade is the one for you. Our next film, another Western, sort of an offbeat type Western, directed by Jim Jarmusch, starring Johnny Depp, Dead Man. Yeah, really underrated film, and I've been trying to get into a little bit of Jim Jarmusch of late. This is, yeah, really good. You got the last performance of Robert Mitchum in here. You got a really cool sort of rock and roll soundtrack, and yeah, some really violent scenes as well, which I like. So yeah, good Johnny Depp film, Dead Man. Then another really good Brian De Palma film, again sort of in the mold of like a Hitchcock movie. We got Dressed to Kill. Really enjoyed this one. I sort of almost feel like this one and Blowout is almost like a double feature you could watch. Again, you got Michael Caine in here, Nancy Allen. You also got Angie Dickinson. Yeah, really good stuff, and yeah, really have got into Brian De Palma other films over the last couple of years, and yeah, Dressed to Kill is a great one. And then another Criterion, this one I actually got fairly recently this year, earlier in March or April. This is also directed by Sidney Lumet, starring Henry Fonda, Failsafe. And this is one of those political sort of war type films, a lot of dialogue in there, but it's really well made. You got Henry Fonda as the American president, and there's this sort of bomb scenario. So if you like Sidney Lumet, Henry Fonda, you like that kind of style, you may like Failsafe. Good film. Okay, next stack. Another one of my favorite Criterion films. I've seen this film quite a few times. 5 Easy Pieces with Jack Nicholson. Love Jack Nicholson in the 70s. He did some really good films. And this one, yeah, it's all about sort of the American lifestyle and just a guy who's just going through life, you know, different relationships and family matters and jobs and stuff like that. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it a lot with Jack Nicholson. Any film in the 70s I've seen him in, I've loved, and this has a lot of good messages in it, and one I've rewatched quite a few times. That's 5 Easy Pieces. Next one is actually Christopher Nolan's first film, and it's really underrated. It's only about 60-70 minutes. It is The Following. It's a nice little British sort of crime drama. Yeah, very underrated and understated in a way. I enjoyed it a lot. Of course, he went on to do a lot bigger things, but yeah, if you want to check out Christopher Nolan, his first film, The Following. Our next film is another film directed by Sidney Lumet, big Marlon Brando fan. This is The Fugitive Kind. This is actually based on a stage play by Tennessee Williams. This is another Criterion that came out fairly recently, and I love Marlon Brando. He's definitely in my top 10 actors of all time, so anything he's in, especially in his early days, I really enjoyed. I've seen this one on DVD. I haven't actually watched the Criterion. I'm looking forward to rewatching this. This is really good. I said, like Sidney Lumet, like Brando, you'll enjoy this one. Fugitive Kind. Next one is the original Funny Games, directed by Michael Heck. He also did the remake, the American remake of Naomi Watts and Tim Roth, and they're both really good. It's hard to compare them because they're basically the same movie. I really enjoy the story and the two sort of characters and what actually happens. I don't really know if I could say one's better than the other. I like them both. So if you like psychological horror films, Funny Games is for you. Next movie is The House of Games. This was okay. I remember watching this sort of towards the end of last year. It's again one of those kind of crime dramas. Unfortunately, it's not that memorable. I don't think it's the type of movie you'd probably rewatch over and over. It was okay, but if you're sort of buying Criterion, you probably wouldn't put this at the top of the list. All right, but nothing that fantastic. That is The House of Games. Now this one is a really good film, and again directed by Nicholas Ray, In a Lonely Place, starring the legendary Humphrey Bogart. Big Bogart fan, seen all of his classic films like Casablanca, Treasure of Sierra Madre, Key Largo, the list really goes on, but this is certainly one of his more understated films. Definitely his acting performance in this is probably one of his best. It's a really good noir film. He's a screenwriter and things go wrong and he's been accused of something that's happened, and yeah, really good film. Nicholas Ray is really good at these film noirs, so if you're getting into Humphrey Bogart, this might be the film for you, In a Lonely Place. Now another really good film, directed by, I'm trying to see, Norman Jewison, who did a lot of good films in the 70s. This is just late 60s, sorry. In the Heat of the Night, starring Rod Steiger and Sidney Poitier. Yeah, really good film and kind of relevant to what's happening today. Unfortunately, yeah, really just the soundtrack in this, the dialogue, the characters. Roy Steiger's always really good, as is Sidney Poitier. And yeah, as I said, if you want to match a film with the relevance of today, this may be the film, In the Heat of the Night. Next one is the Insomnia. This is the original. Obviously, Christopher Nolan did a remake back in the early 2000s, which I really love, with Al Pacino, Robin Williams. This is the Swedish version, and again, it's quite similar, pretty much step to step as the Nolan film. It probably, the relationship between, obviously in the remake with Pacino and Nolan was quite interesting. I didn't feel that as much in this one. So if I'm going to watch this movie, I would probably go with the American version. This is good, but just, I don't know, something was lacking for me. That is the original Insomnia. Next one is another Western. It is Jubal. This is quite an older Criterion, starring again Glenn Ford and Ernest Borgnine. When I first saw this, I wasn't huge on it, but I did read more about it recently, and I kind of understood the story a little bit more. And you know, Glenn Ford, as I said, with 3 Tenths of Humour, he was a good old-time Western actor. Ernest Borgnine was always good as well, and you've actually got an early performance from Charles Bronson in this as well. So yeah, it's not one of the most iconic best westerns of all time, but it's not bad. That is Jubal. And then ending this little stack, we got another sort of noir film directed by Robert Aldrich, Kiss Me Deadly. This was another recent pickup from last year. This was okay. I was expecting a little bit more because, as I said to you earlier, I do love my film noirs. It kind of had a great beginning, and then it kind of went off track a little bit, and then the ending, the sort of science fiction ending, I'll just leave it like that. It was kind of out of place in a way, so I don't know. If you like film noirs, definitely check it out, but it's not one of the best of that genre in my opinion. That is Kiss Me Deadly. Okay. Next film is a really good film. This again came out last year. It is Clute, starring Jane Fonda and Donald Sutherland. Certainly one of the best Jane Fonda films of all time. She's really good in this. She plays a call girl. You got Donald Sutherland, who plays a detective, and just the sort of cinematography in this, the haunting soundtrack as well. Really good stuff. Highly recommend Clute. And then we got the Lady Snowblood complete collection, the two Lady Snowblood films. This is a Japanese, and this is where Tarantino took a lot of inspiration when doing the Kill Bill. So if you love Kill Bill, go back to this. Great, especially the first one. The second one wasn't as good, but the first Lady Snowblood was great. A lot of great martial arts and samurai type kills and all that. So yeah, good film. Second one okay, but yeah, that is the Lady Snowblood collection. The next film is directed by Fritz Lang, very famous film, M, starring Peter Lorre. It's a very interesting film. This guy's like a child killer, serial killer type thing, and it's more, you don't see a lot on screen. It's more sort of left to your imagination, and in some ways it's good. I'll probably have to watch this one again because I've only seen it once, and I guess I wasn't really in the mood that time, so it's okay, but it's not brilliant. So maybe I'm missing out on something because it is highly acclaimed, and yeah, I'll check it out another point. That is M. Next one is another sort of offbeat type of Western, a little bit different than most other Westerns, directed by Robert Altman, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, starring Warren Beatty and Julie Christie. The look of this film is great. I know they had an older DVD or Blu-ray, but they've really done a great restoration. Yeah, this is definitely different. So it's not for your common Western fans. I mean, this is a little bit more dialogue, a little more story to it, not just your usual gunfights and stuff like that. Warren Beatty's really good in it, as is Julie Christie. So yeah, I recommend checking it out, especially if you want to explore different areas of the Western genre. It's a good one, McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Film starring David Bowie, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, Japanese film. Yeah, this guy's in the sort of prison camp in Japan, and yeah, David Bowie, really good actor in his early days. I know he's more famous for his singing, but he was actually really good, and this is quite a powerful sort of drama, a really good soundtrack. I love the tune in this, it's great. So yeah, good film, underrated, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. Next one is another really underrated Criterion that not a lot of people talk about. I think this one came out last year. It's directed by Elaine May, starring two really good actors. You got John Cassavetes and Peter Falk, Mikey and Nikki. I love the hell out of this one. Yeah, it's just really good. It's sort of set in one night. John Cassavetes is like a gambler and he loses a lot of money. He comes to his good friend Peter Falk, and you know, they just go through the journey of the night, and people are after him and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a really good film. I've always loved John Cassavetes, Peter Falk too, and yeah, really underrated, Mikey and Nikki. Now, probably one of my favorite movies in my Criterion collection. I love this movie. It's probably one of my top 50 favorite movies of all time. You got Midnight Cowboy, great film starring Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman. I've said a lot about this film in the past. Yeah, just the chemistry between Hoffman and Jon Voight in this is great. The soundtrack, really iconic. I know it didn't win. I think it actually won Best Picture that year, the first X-rated film back in the day to win Best Picture. But one of these guys should have won Best Actor, because yeah, Jon Voight in his early days is really good, and Dustin Hoffman's good in virtually anything. So yeah, love this film a lot. I watch this film once or twice a year, and the restoration on the Criterion is excellent. So that is Midnight Cowboy. Another really good Western, directed by John Ford, a very famous Western actor, My Darling Clementine, starring Henry Fonda, Victor Mature as well. Yeah, really good film. If you love the Wyatt Earp story, which most people have seen in Tombstone, you're going to love this. This is really iconic. One of the more early iconic Westerns of all time, My Darling Clementine. And then another really interesting British film, it's directed by Mike Leigh, that is Naked. And this is a really sort of almost social commentary of this guy that he's sort of homeless, and he just walks through the streets of London and has all these sort of encounters of different characters and all these conversations. It's really, really interesting and weird at the same time. I don't know what to say about it too much. Quite understated in a way, and certainly worth watching at least once. That is Naked. Okay, next stack here. Next one is the movie Cornel Wilde film, The Naked Prey. Yeah, really good, sort of in the mold of like an apocalypto type stuff. About this British soldier who gets comes across this African, I think, village, and then they come after him. It's sort of chase of survival, and yeah, it's just really interesting, and I love a sort of chase type film. So that is The Naked Prey, really good stuff. And then probably another one of my favorite Criterions in my collection, very iconic, most people probably got this one, The Night of the Hunter, starring the legendary Robert Mitchum and Shelley Winters, and yeah, directed by Charles Lawton. This was actually his only film he ever directed, surprisingly enough, because this was a great film. As I said, the iconic Robert Mitchum in his iconic role as the priest Robert Powell, and was it Harry Powell? It's Harry Powell. And yeah, just some of the great dialogue between the kids in this, and Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters great in this as well. And yeah, if you're getting into the Criterion collection, this is one of the first films that I would recommend, The Night of the Hunter. Then of course we come across a Hitchcock film, Notorious. I really enjoyed this one. Not one of the best Hitchcock films of all time, but you know his style. If you love that sort of dramatic, tense scenes, this is definitely one I would recommend. Not in the same vein, of course, as Psycho or Vertigo, but I really enjoyed Notorious. You got Cary Grant in here, who did quite a number of films of Hitchcock. He's really good, and yeah, I had a great time with this one, Notorious. Then we come on to another Western, which, as I said, one of my favorite actors. He actually directed this as well. I think this was one of the only films he directed. Marlon Brando in One-Eyed Jacks. Again, a very different offbeat type of Western, not your regular type Western that you expect in the genre, but really enjoyable. You got Cole Malden here as well as a villain. Cole Malden always pops up in these type of movies. Really good actor as well. And, you know, you got Brando in a Western. I'm going to buy it. So that is One-Eyed Jacks. Then another really good film. This was one of the first Criterions I picked up, I believe, back in the day. This is Paris, Texas. Yeah, really good, sort of sad drama. You got Harry Dean Stanton, the main actor, really good in this film about his journey, emotional journey about reconnecting with family, and he's a bit of a drifter type thing. And yeah, it's got a lot of good sort of messages in this film, and yeah, very heartwarming as well. That is Paris, Texas. And then you got another film directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Adam Sandler, Punch Drunk Love. This film was okay. I expected a little bit more. It's a bit of a different type of Adam Sandler film. I mean, mostly he does comedies. He did a really good film recently, Uncut Gems. But yeah, I was expecting a little bit more. You got a really good sort of small performance from Philip Seymour Hoffman, who should have been in it more, I believe. This is certainly not one of my favorite Paul Thomas Andersons. It's okay, but nothing special. That is Punch Drunk Love. Then another really good film, probably one of the best horror films of all time in my opinion. It's really good. That is Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, Mia Farrow in this. Roman Polanski directed. One of the best restorations I've seen on Blu-ray, Criterion of all time. And yeah, if you love horror films, sort of that cult type horror film, you're going to love this. You got John Cassavetes in here as well. And as I said, not huge on the horror genre, but this is one I'd highly recommend. Rosemary's Baby. Another really good film directed by Francis Ford Coppola, Rumblefish with Matt Dillon. You got a really good performance here by Mickey Rourke as well. You got Diane Lane. So all these actors coming up in the 80s. Francis Ford Coppola, of course, did The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. So yeah, this is not one of his best films, but I really enjoyed, as I said, The Motorcycle Kid. That is Mickey Rourke, and yeah, just it's a good film. Teenage drama, that type of stuff. Yeah, good stuff. Rumblefish. And then another really iconic Criterion, most people have heard about this, Ingmar Bergman's Seventh Seal, Max von Sydow, who actually just died recently. Yeah, this is one of those really sort of iconic black and white films about good versus evil type thing. Yeah, it's got a lot of, as it said, hidden messages that you might not pick up the first time, but yeah, it's very iconic. I haven't really got into a lot of Ingmar Bergman, but I did enjoy this, and I always enjoy Max von Sydow. So yeah, good film, The Seventh Seal. And then we come on to another enjoyable film. I had a great time with this, directed by Billy Wilder, who I've got into a lot of his films of late. Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe, very famous actress, and you got Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. Just the chemistry between all three of these actors and actress is really good. A lot of fun laughs in this, just an easygoing type movie, nothing to be taken too seriously, and one of those movies you'd watch on like a chilled out Sunday afternoon. That is Some Like It Hot. And then we come on to another great Western, one of the more iconic Westerns, one of the first of its time really type thing, and this is John Ford, Stagecoach. As made in 1939, I believe, and this is what brought John Wayne to the map. This is one of his first early well-known performances, really good as Ringo the Kid. Yeah, as I said, if you're getting into Westerns and want to explore the genre a little bit further, Stagecoach is one of the first that I would recommend. Great film, the very iconic John Ford, as I said. Worth checking out, Stagecoach. Okay, and then we got on to another noir film. This one directed by Nicholas Ray again, They Live by Night. This one I picked up fairly recently, and as I said before, if you love film noirs, Nicholas Ray is one of those directors I'll check out, and this is certainly one of his best, They Live by Night. Next one, big fan of this director. He's one of my top 5, at least in the top 10. Michael Mann, Thief, was starring James Caan. Love James Caan, of course, well known for The Godfather. Really good Western, El Dorado as well. But yeah, this is a great heist film. And Michael Mann sort of became the iconic director for that genre. Of course, he did the fantastic Heat, which is one of my favorites. He did Manhunter. He did some Last of the Mohicans as well. I actually only seen this movie once. I don't have a great memory of it just because it's one of the first I did buy. So I definitely have to go back to it maybe during this Criterion period and watch it again because I was a big fan, always a big fan of James Caan and Michael Mann. So that is Thief. Next one's another Japanese movie, Senjin Suzuki's Tokyo Drifter. This was okay. It's one of those gangster, Yakuza type films. Not one of my favorites of that type of genre. It's sort of, there's a few good violent scenes in there, but it's sort of, the story, it's kind of misguided a little bit and doesn't flow as well in my opinion. It's alright, but nothing fantastic. That is Tokyo Drifter. Next film, I really enjoyed this one a lot. Another one that I got last year, The Vanishing, about this, I think it's based on a true story about this girl who goes missing for a long period of time. And what's great about this, you got the boyfriend who at first gets accused of it all, and you get his side of the story, and then you actually get the kidnapper, and you find out more about his side of things, and you know, he's living with a family, normal lifestyle, and yeah, why it happens, and then they sort of collide towards the end. Yeah, really interesting movie. I had a great time. I love these sort of offbeat movies, you know, where you get an uncomfortable feeling, and that's kind of what I felt about it. So that is The Vanishing. Highly recommend that one. And then another really good film, directed another Japanese director, Shohei Imura, Vengeance is Mine. And again, I think this was based on a true story about a Japanese serial killer in the 70s. This film really reminds me of the recent film, The House That Jack Built, with starring Matt Dillon, which was again based on a serial killer and the mind and psychosis of it. Very similar in a lot of ways, this film. You go through a lot of his killings and he details a lot of it and stuff like that. I really had a good time of it. I always enjoy those type of films. So again, highly recommend this if you're into foreign films. Vengeance is Mine. And now we get on to like the Digipaks and more the set type things. Which I've got a few here. The first set, probably a really big favourite of mine. I love this set. I actually finally got this last year. The American Lost and Found set, and it's got a really good movies in here. You got Head, Easy Rider, which is one of my favourites of all time. Love Easy Rider. You got 5 Easy Pieces, so I've also got doubles of that one. You got Drive, He Said, Safe Place, The Last Picture Show, which I'm a huge fan of as well, and The King of the Marvin Gardens. So it's a really nice set. All in their like little books type thing, and yeah, some of these movies are really good. I said my favorites: Easy Rider, The Last Picture Show, and The King of Marvin Gardens. Probably my favorites out of this set, but yeah, all films quite interesting. Some there's a little weird. I think Safe Place was a little bit strange, and Head, but yeah, the others really interesting. So that's the American Lost and Found set. Then we come on to another great Billy Wilder classic, Ace in the Hole, starring Kirk Douglas. Yeah, really nice digipack this. Comes with a big newspaper inside, a lot of good features. And this, again, is sort of relevant today because it's the power of the media and journalism and paranoia in a way. And yeah, so that's kind of relevant to today. Ace in the Hole, really good Kirk Douglas film. And then we got the iconic, this is another set that I did get last year, the Before trilogy, directed by Richard Linklater, you know, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. I think most people have seen this one by now. It comes with the three booklets. You got Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. I think my favorite might be Before Sunrise. Yeah, really enjoy these two. This is just really kind of relatable, I think, to most people in a way. These two strangers meet on a train in Europe somewhere, and they go on this sort of day and night of a journey of talking to each other about relationships, about life, about really everything, and they kind of fall in love a little bit. And then the second one is where they kind of reconnect. And then the third one is, well, I won't spoil anything more, but again, there's more discussion and more sort of relevance. Yeah, really good, interesting movies. Certainly worth recommending this on Blu-ray. It's a nice set. And yeah, great stuff. That's the Before trilogy. Then we have another European, Michelangelo's Antonio's Blow Up. This again is kind of in a mold of like a Brian De Palma Hitchcock type film. Yeah, very similar to Blowout in a way. It's funny, the name's very similar, Blow Up. So yeah, I didn't mind this one. Probably not one of those movies you'd rewatch again and again and again, but it's not bad. Let's Blow Up. Nice set there. Okay. And then this one, another one that I got last year, David Lynch's Blue Velvet, and I'm a big fan of this film. Certainly one of my favorite David Lynch films. You got Kyle MacLachlan, you got the very famous Dennis Hopper, great role for him in this. Isabella Rossellini as well, and yeah, it's a great sort of, again, film, neo-noir type, I would say, that type genre. Got a really good scene in this with the Roy Orbison song. Love that scene a lot. And yeah, as I said, certainly one of my favorite David Lynch films, Blue Velvet. Okay, so getting there, another little stack here. An Italian film, Elio Petreri's investigation of a citizen above suspicion. You got the very famous Italian actor Gian Maria Valenti, and you probably remember him from the Dollars trilogy. He played the villain in the first two. This has got a really Ennio Morricone soundtrack. Rest in peace to him. He just died a couple of days ago. Again, this is sort of explores the psychosis of a detective and crime and stuff like that. It's more, a lot of dialogue, but very interesting, and his performance in this, Gian Maria Valenti, is great. So if you like those sort of slower paced movies, crime films, you'll definitely enjoy this. Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion. Next one is a really good film. I got recommended this quite a number of times by Brent Dwyer and Carson Bates. This is directed by Dino Rizzi, another Italian film, El Sorpasso, and this is one of those road trip type movies about these two guys, very different type personalities that go on this journey together. You've got, what's his name, the French Jean-Louis Trinquant, who was from The Great Silence, and Vittorio Gassman. Yeah, great chemistry between the two. And I said, if you like those fun sort of road trip type movies, this has got a really good 60s soundtrack as well. You're going to love El Sorpasso. There it is. Our next one's another David Lynch film. This is very strange and weird. I wasn't huge on it. This is Eraserhead, one of his early ones. Yeah, this is very peculiar and weird. What can I say about it? I'm sure most of you guys have seen this one. I don't know if it's really that rewatchable. I definitely prefer a lot of other David Lynch films. Certainly if you're into that type of strange type movies, you'll probably dig this a lot, but I wasn't huge on it. I did enjoy the mood. It kind of has that weird type mood where you need to see the ending just to see actually what happens, but yeah, I don't know what to say. Eraserhead. Then we got another film, one of my favorite directors, Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Yeah, certainly one of the more underrated Kubrick films again. sort of like a political war type film. You got Sterling Hayden as well, really good performance, and the very iconic Peter Sellers, who was great in this as well. I had a lot of fun with this. This is sort of like a black comedy type film. Yeah, a lot of political sort of jargon and like little political jokes as well. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Doctor Strangelove. Then we come on to another really good film. I watched this a lot on a big hangout. A bunch of us watched this film. Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing. Been getting into a little bit of Spike Lee recently, of course, when Black Klansman was really good. Clockers as well I watched. Yeah, this was good. As he said, quite maybe relevant to what's been going on recently, but yeah, really the restorations, this was good. A lot of good messages. I think I need to watch it again probably myself to maybe understand some more of the scenes, but overall a fun and enjoyable film. Do the Right Thing. Put that there. Okay. And then the next one, Dazed and Confused. And if you love those sort of rom-com, teenage type sex movies, Dazed and Confused is high up there. It's sort of in the mold of, I've just forgotten it, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, that type of thing. You know, you got some really good acting in this. Matthew McConaughey. This is actually directed by Richard Linklater as well. Yeah, overall, if you love those teenager, high school type films, Dazed and Confused is really up there. And this set is really nice. That's that. Okay, the next one is one of my favorite movies again of this director. One of my favorites of all time, actually, Mulholland Drive. This is definitely like a neo-noir film starring Naomi Watts. Yeah, great stuff. It's all set in LA, and it's almost like a jigsaw. You're piecing together all these different scenes, and if this scene is actually belongs in the beginning of the film, and you got to piece it all together. You got to pay attention to a lot of this film because there's a lot of strange things happening. The music to this film is so good, and I had a lot of good time with it. I'm looking forward to actually re-watching this again at some stage because I had a great time. And as I said, one of my favorite David Lynch films, Mulholland Drive. Next film, again, another one I picked up fairly recently, Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho, young Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix. Again, it's kind of like a road trip movie as well about these two friends, you know, explore like sexuality and sort of teenage drama and stuff like that. Yeah, really good performance by River Phoenix. Sadly, he was killed too soon. Really good young actor, and of course Keanu Reeves came up in the ranks as well. So yeah, My Own Private Idaho, good film. Then probably another one of my favorite Criterion movies. Really love this set, love this movie in general. Marlon Brando, On the Waterfront. Yeah, I've seen this movie quite a few times. Directed by Elia Kazan. Yeah, it's iconic. You got Rod Steiger in there as well. Cole Malden, Lee J. Cobb. Also introducing Eva Maria Saint, who was a great actress back in the day. And as I said, this is iconic Brando. If you're getting into his movies, this is one of the first that I would recommend, On the Waterfront. Then we come on to another Western, really nice set, this directed by Howard Hawks, John Wayne, Red River. Yeah, this is such a great set. If you're into this film, this is the set to get. Howard Hawks did a lot of films with John Wayne. You also got Montgomery Clift in there as well, really good young actor. And again, yeah, if you love Westerns, you love those sort of cattle drove type Westerns, this is the film for you. John Wayne, probably one of his better performances in my opinion. I really thought he was good in this. Not sort of the typical role that you see a lot in his other films. Yeah, really good stuff, Red River. Next one's another good film, filmed by Alex Cox, Emilio Estevez, Repo Man. Yeah, certainly I really enjoyed that set a lot, the front cover there. And this was good. Again, don't have a huge memory of this film because this is one I watched quite a number of years ago. I know Tracy Walter's in it as well. It was okay. As I said, it's one of those films that you have to be paying attention to a little bit. There's a lot sort of weird stuff going on, and yeah, not hugely memorable for me, but okay. So that is Repo Man. Okay, the next one, very iconic film. This film's always in like the best of all time type thing. That is Seven Samurai, Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, really good, famous old Japanese guy. Did a lot of good films. Yojimbo, Hidden Fortress, to name a few. this is really up there. I mean, we've had a lot of jokes of this on Hangouts and stuff, live streams, because this obviously the Magnificent Seven took a lot of the ideas from this film, and I'm going to say right now that that's a better film in my opinion, just because I love westerns, I love the acting in this, but nothing to take away from it. This is a really brilliant film, well directed, well acted. Love the scenes. This is over 3 hours long. Cinematography for the time is brilliant. There's nothing bad to say about this film. I just prefer the Western sort of version of it. But yeah, if you're getting into Japanese films, old classic cinema, Seven Samurai is the one to get. Really nice set there as well. So getting towards the end. Next film, another one that I got fairly recently, directed by Steven Soderbergh, Sex, Lies and Videotapes. There's a nice little Digipak here. And again, this film was good. I really enjoyed James Spader in this film. He was probably my favourite in this. And you got Andie MacDowell as well. She was good. Yeah, overall, just a good drama. Really enjoy Steven Soderbergh's films. I've seen quite a few of them. I think Logan Lucky was one of his recent ones that I enjoyed. So yeah, overall, a good one. Sex, Lies and Videotapes. And I think coming on to the last stack here, so getting towards the end, one of my sort of favourite horror thrillers of all time, directed by Jonathan Demme, Silence of the Lambs. And this looks fantastic on the Criterion restoration. Very iconic film. You got Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, Scott Glenn, Ted Levine. Yeah, brilliant stuff. This, of course, was one of the only films that win all the major Oscars. Yeah, so if you're into psychological horror type dramas, thrillers, yeah, you're gonna love this. If you're a big fan of this film, I highly recommend this edition, Silence of the Lambs. And then another film, again, one of those sort of film noir type movies, really good, Sweet Smell of Success. You got Burt Lancaster, Tony Curtis, and I've always enjoyed Burt Lancaster more on these type of movies. I haven't been huge into his westerns, but he's really good in this. And of course, I always enjoyed Tony Curtis. Again, this is about the power of the media, and he's a journalist, Tony Curtis. Yeah, overall, really well made. I know a lot of people love this film. They say it's high up there. I don't know if it is for me. I've only seen this once, so maybe I need to go back to it. But yeah, good acting from all. And if you love film noir type thing, yeah, Sweet Smell of Success is for you. And then another film, directed by David Lynch, the Twin Peaks movie, Fire Walk With Me. Now, I actually haven't seen a lot of the TV show of Twin Peaks, and I really want to because I actually enjoyed this movie, and maybe I missed some things because I maybe didn't have a great understanding of what's going on in some ways because I haven't seen the show totally, but I did enjoy it. I love the style of David Lynch, the music, cinematography, so I'll probably got to go back at some stage and go through the show because I did enjoy this movie. That is Twin Peaks, Fire Walk With Me. And then the last Criterion that I do own, Mexican movie that I got last year as well, E2 Mama Tambien. Really good sort of road trip movie, directed by Alonso Cuarón. He did Gravity more recently. Yeah, good stuff. You got Diego Luna in this, young Diego Luna. Yeah, really good road trip, as I said. Great drama. Two boys get together with this older woman, and they go on this journey and of self-discovery in a way. And if you like those type of movies, this is highly recommend it. That is E2 Mama Tambien. So that's it, guys. That is my Criterion collection. So as you can see, I've got quite a few there. Really happy with it, and I'm sure I'm going to be picking up some more in the coming weeks. So as always, as I said earlier in the video, let me know what you thought about this Criterion collection, the ones that I do have, and maybe ones that I could pick up in the upcoming sale, because I will be getting a few. And yeah, I'll see you next time. So keep safe and keep healthy.
And if you ain't man enough to do it for yourself, I'd be happy to oblige. I really would.